Well, hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. Today we're talking about lengthened partials. Lengthened partials. This is a hot topic right now in YouTube land, in the scientific community specifically. I've seen it all over on all of our top favorite fitness YouTubers that have science backgrounds, that read the science, study the science, have degrees in the science, exercise scientists, all of those ists. We'll just keep on adding them up. But very interesting research being done lately. I'm giving you some generalities right here. I'm not the scientist, first of all. I'm the guy, in the gym, basically. I've been in the gym for 40 years, a lot of empirical experiences and evidences that back up a lot of the training that I do, and then that I also do on others. So I've trained clients now for 40. This is my fourth decade. I just completed my fourth decade of training others on top of myself. So here we go. Lengthened partials. You may check out some of these channels that are out there. Renaissance Periodization, Milo Wolf, Coach Milo. He also talks about it. Both he and Dr Mike Israetel, Dr Milo Wolf. Okay, I'll give him credit in that regard for sure. Both of them speak quite often about lengthened partials and about getting that deep stretch when you're working out. So do I agree with this? First of all, I'll come right out and say it. Yeah, I do. For the most part. I'm going to give you a for the most part, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But what is it about these lengthened partials that I've noticed in the gym over so many years? And it's either to be used as a technique standalone. I've used it that way. I've also used it as a end of set intensifier at the end of a given set of certain exercises. If you're on a leg press that bottoms out, after you cannot get a full and complete rep, then you can go right ahead and continue on with a couple of partial reps, bottom half reps in good form, in great form. If you're doing curls, yes, you can be curling away, and after you cannot get another full and complete rep, you do a few more bottom half reps. Y'all have seen my calf workouts in the past, and those donkey calf raises that I do, for sure. I fell into that one. I had no idea what I was doing early on, but for some reason it worked. And what was I doing? I was doing a set of 12, maybe 15 repetitions of donkey calf raises, very heavy. That's with a heavy person up on my hips, as well as a lot of weight strapped around my hips, hanging down between my legs. I would do these donkey calf raises, and when I could not get another full and complete rep, I would continue on with bottom half reps. And did it feel dangerous? Sometimes, because I had no research backing me up on any of this. So was I willing to take the chance, though, as a competitor? Okay, yes, I was. To create great calves, was I willing to go there? Yes, I was. And so it really blew up my calves. It made them grow to such an extent that, for me, they were one of my best body parts. And people, who saw me, competing as well as in my off season, would always ask me about how I got such good calves. And the answer was, it's not just genetics. Okay, I'm going to give you the real quote here. People say when they see calves, they point and they go, genetics. Untrue. For some people, yes, true. I don't want to say untrue. For some people, it's true. But for those of us who did not and were not born with big calves, and we may have had the potential of growing big calves, there you go. For those of us in that hot seat, it is genetics realized through proper training. So I did find that by burning out a set with some bottom half repetitions, and it got a little bit dangerous near the end. I would knock out, 5 or 8 half reps down near the bottom in a deep stretch, not bouncing, mind you, but under control. My calves grew even better. Now, with the calf equipment and the calf machines and the things like that we had access to, I only found one machine in Las Vegas and went up to 1,000 pounds that I could do partial reps in just the bottom half position. But otherwise, a lot of the machines are not heavy enough to do it or justify doing it. So that is how I would use it over time. Are there certain exercises that favor using lengthened partials? Well, yeah. It's really cool to know that here in my own home gym, by default, again, I didn't know, but it's nice to have it confirmed by the science, confirmed by people like Dr. Mike Israetel, Dr. Milo Wolf, et cetera, down the line, and the studies that are being done, that doing exercises that have more stress in the lengthened position, those exercises are indeed greater or better for creating hypertrophy. What am I talking about here? Well, doing a pullover with a dumbbell where all of the resistance hits when you're in a cross bench dumbbell pullover, when your arm is way up behind your head, alongside your head, that type of a pullover really stresses your lat and the long head of your tricep. More growth. As opposed to doing a rowing motion in a machine. Okay, one of them is going to really stress your lats more. That would be the pullover motion. Other exercises, we find in the garage gym, the home gym, the gym that does not have all the fancy machines. Dumbbell flies, flat or inclined, versus a fly machine. When you're doing dumbbell flies on a flat bench, all of the resistance really hits when you're in that deep stretch position. So therefore, better for you. More potential for growth. Wow, this harkens back to the days of the Golden Era. Those guys were using dumbbells and barbells for most of their exercises, and they did do heavy dumbbell flies, and they grew great chests. So this really starts to bring up some memories here, okay? Dumbbell laterals for the shoulders. Yeah, there's always been a problem with doing dumbbell laterals where you're just raising them out to the side. For some reason, machines always seem to feel better. For some reason, single arm cable laterals felt better on the delts and created better looking delts. So this really has brought up a good issue. So as far as exercise selection goes, yeah, it's influenced not just myself, but how I train others as well, to a great degree. And having that science to back all this up has been awesome. Now, is there any other exercise I can think of? Yes, there are. Doing things like a squat, barbell or a machine squat or a belt squat. Where's all the resistance hitting? In that stretch position at the bottom of the movement. That's when your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, your glutes are all stressed the most in that deep stretch. But let's just talk quads for the moment because we do it pretty much for the quad workout. Hack squats, all squats, all of that. Versus a leg extension, specifically ones where all the resistance really hits near the top. So to me, it sort of negates using a free weight leg extension where there's no resistance at the bottom and it all hits when you extend your legs up. For me, that's a useless exercise. I don't like it. It's hard on the knees. And for hypertrophy, man, there's so many negatives to it. I just don't like it. Out the window it goes. But what I do, a reverse Nordic leg curl, which is really a Nordic leg extension, sitting down on the floor and leaning back. Yes. What I do, sissy squats. Well, yes. Are they superior to squats or hack squats? No, I think that's been proven. I think every bodybuilder worth their salt knows that you need to do a squat or a heavy leg press or a deep belt squat, something like that, to really, really activate the quads and get the most size you can out of it. The sissy squat has always been a little bit inferior in that regard. It's good as a finisher, and so is the reverse Nordic curl for the quads. So this also explains why exercises like a stiff-legged deadlift, that's what we used to call them back in the day. They weren't all called Romanian deadlifts or RDLs, but Romanian deadlifts as well. In that stretch position, you're activating a lot of tissue, and the potential for growth is much greater than using something like a lying leg curl, where the resistance, when you come up into the curl position, some of those machines are made wrong. It's not supposed to have a ton of resistance near the top. Your hamstrings are actually stronger when they are in stretch position. So doing a seated leg curl is superior to doing a prone leg curl. That's just not my opinion. I believe that's backed by science now at this point. But we'll go with that for now. So what else am I talking about here with regards to lengthened partial repetition training, and how good are they for hypertrophy? Well, they are really good for all the reasons that I've mentioned, all the exercises that I've mentioned. I can go on, by the way. I really can. Tricep press downs, these versus doing a heavy overhead dumbbell extension with the arms stretched alongside your head, or doing a pullover press with a barbell. It's one of my favorite exercises for the long head and the full size of the tricep. Far superior to doing simple press downs. And those offer a lot of resistance in the stretch position. There we go. Curls. Doing curls where the elbows are raised up like this versus ones where they're stretched to a certain degree. Yeah, the ones with the slight stretch are better. For the most part, I think we've seen that all throughout bodybuilding history, but no one's really explained it until these recent times where lengthened partials are being studied more and more. I believe back in the day when Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler were going at it against each other, it was also known that both of them used a lot of partial rep training. They didn't use partial rep training in the fully contracted position. They used it in the stretch position. They hardly ever came into a full contraction on any of their exercises. I remember seeing Ronnie Coleman doing overhead presses. It looked like he was doing half reps the whole time, the bottom half. And Jay Cutler, for that matter, too, with dumbbells. So, and also on dumbbell bench presses, I've seen Jay Cutler doing inclines with barbells. He never seemed to come all the way up to full lockout. And so these guys intuitively knew what was making them grow. They may not have pinpointed it or defined it or detailed it for all of us, but they were doing it. And people hypothesized even back then when they were training. These were some of the most massive bodybuilders at the time, and they were doing lengthened partials. So for all of this positive that I'm throwing out at you, why would I say I mostly agree with it? Well, I learned a long time ago, I'm now 58, 59, and I've been in this game now for 4 decades, like I just said, training myself and others. So when I was, actually it's 41 years me training me, so I was about 18 when I really hit it. So doing it for this long, I really learned my lesson. At one point when I had injured a shoulder early on in my training. It really wasn't my shoulder. It was a bicep tendon. Well, it was my shoulder. A little bit of rotator cuff and a slight impingement. And I remember getting treated for it. I used to go to a place in Los Angeles, California called the Soft Tissue Center. The Soft Tissue Center was famous for treating athletes and bodybuilders. I believe the bodybuilders the Soft Tissue Center, Joe Horrigan and the boys over there, they really cut their teeth on the bodybuilders in particular, because we would come up with all these odd injuries to our shoulders or to our knees or to our backs, elbows, etc. And they had a lot of fun figuring out how to treat those injuries. But the one common theme that I learned from them repeatedly as I would come in with these small little injuries here and there was just the beginnings of those injuries. And for me, to this day, I've still had the attitude, the belief that I don't have to live with those injuries. And there were some common denominators to those injuries. I'm going to give those to you in one moment. But what did I choose to do all these years? I treat my body properly. I train within a certain range of motion. I'm super flexible. So I do believe in stretching. I'm going to do a whole video on that. It's upcoming in the next week. And I've done other ones on stretching in the past. So I'm super flexible. I make sure that I stretch regularly. Being a little bit on the hyper flexible side is preferable versus being too tight. And if a lot of you haven't figured that out by now, well, you might in the near future. I've known bodybuilders who've done bent over rows and torn their hamstring because the hamstring was just too tight to hold them in that position. So, and that's not full on old school 90-degree bent over row. I'm talking about Dorian rows with that 70-degree back angle to the ground. So knowing what I know with regards to that, I always keep my body flexible. So I've stretched since I was a teenager, and to this day, I recommend it for clients and for you subscriber watching this right now. So let's connect it all together right now. Is a deep stretch very important to doing lengthened partials? Well, yes, it is. I just mentioned a few ways of doing them, okay, in this video. Whether you do a squat, the bottom motion of that squat, very important. A belt squat, the bottom part of that motion, very important. A seated leg curl, the fully stretched position, very important. Do partial repetitions all the way out there in the fully stretched position. All of those, including, now here we go, including overhead presses with dumbbells or barbells. Well, at some point, if my arm comes down to here and the barbell is just below my chin, my elbow does not go further than that. For me to go further than that, I have to open my joint capsule further, my shoulder joint capsule, even further. And all the stress turns onto my scalenes, my traps, my neck. Getting a deep, super deep stretch on an overhead press is a negative. I learned that, again, from some very wise men who were treating the injuries that we all had. Well, I didn't have every one of these, but my peers at the time, all throughout the 80s and the 90s, at Gold's Gym and at World Gym in Santa Monica and Venice, California. These were pro bodybuilders and top amateurs. They all suffered from a lot of the same injuries because they were training the same way. They believed in doing full range of motion. That's great, but where is full range of motion? On a bench press, for example, how far down do you go? Well, when the bar hits your chest, when you're doing a bench press, you're in a full stretch. You go further than that with a cambered bar, let's say, the kind that is straight and then bent so that you can get your hands below your chest level. You go further than that, you are playing a risky game right there. The pec gets overstretched, the joint capsule, the shoulder, overstretches and opens up to where other muscles get overstretched and joints get opened up too far. Now, is that true if you're going to use a very lightweight? Nah, it's not true. Go ahead. Well, it is true. It's going to open up, but will it cause a problem? No. Won't cause a problem. But if you're a serious bodybuilder and you're using a decent weight and you get down there in that deep stretch position and you open it up a little bit too far with that cambered bar, so I don't believe in using a cambered bar. I believe the barbell and the dumbbells are deep enough. Using your dumbbells and going just slightly deeper than you would with a barbell is plenty. But keep in mind, there are bodybuilders who have torn their pec, even with dumbbell bench presses. Dennis Newman, 1994, Mr. USA, tore his pec doing flat dumbbell bench presses. Wow, not with a barbell, the much safer version, by the way. There we go. So it has happened before. So I'm just giving a little bit of a warning to those who might listen or who want to train in the most efficient, the best way possible without taking unnecessary risks, yet still maximizing the hypertrophy factor, let's say, of their training. You want that lengthened partial, okay? Should you do, deep incline curls where you angle the bench way down and let your arms stretch down toward the floor? Well, again, that bicep is made to pull from a slight stretch position. An extreme stretch like that, you're taking your chances. Again, some of the smartest men in the world and women who are dealing with these types of gym-related injuries were the ones who taught me in the first place not to go into that realm of super, super deep stretch. Tom Platz, ask him. He tore his bicep doing dumbbell flies, flat dumbbell flies. If any of you have ever seen Tom Platz training, I have many, many times back in the day during his peak. He was amazing. He would use extreme stretch position training, lengthened partials, at the end of his sets when he would be just totally toasted. And flat dumbbell flies was one of them. He would get down there and just bang, bang, bang like this in a full stretch position. Well, doing so didn't tear his pec, but it sure did tear something really close, his bicep. Okay? And that's because the fascia that stretches out over our pec, our bicep, around our shoulder. In his case, it was under extreme stress, under that extreme stretch. So is it worth it? Becomes my question. With the highest levels of respect, I follow both. Dr. Mike Israetel, I follow Dr. Milo Wolf. I enjoy listening to their points of view. Would love to meet them someday, online or in person. It would be great. But I question it. I do. I question it. As a trainer for 4 decades, I'm not questioning lengthened partials. I'm questioning the super, I keep hearing them talk about this super, super deep stretch. And on some movements, it's ultra dangerous. Okay? I even recall the guys from the Soft Tissue Center telling me that when you're doing pull downs, wide grip pull downs or wide grip chins, that when you hit the top and the arms are way up over your head, to let your shoulder blades stretch slightly for a full lat stretch, but dislocating your shoulder joints, going to the point where your shoulder joints were literally dislocating, was causing problems in the rhomboid area in the middle of bodybuilders' backs. So if you are training and using lengthened partials and going for that super, super deep stretch left and right, it's a question I'm going to bring up in your mind. Are you getting these little weird injuries that you can't really pinpoint? Are you experiencing them and not really knowing why? If you are, it's important for you to take a look at your training. Even doing something, I opened up this video talking about doing cross-bench dumbbell pullovers in a home gym setting, like my home gym right here. I do them all the time. But back in the day, I remember the Soft Tissue Center pointing out to me how a lot of the bodybuilders would do cross-bench dumbbell pullovers. Was it good for their lats? Yes. Was it good for the long head of their triceps? Yes. Was it hard on their shoulders? Not so much. But what were they tearing or injuring? You ready for this one? Their abdominals. Because they were in a super arch. Their hips, they would purposely drop their hips down to the floor to arch even further back. And it caused abdominal tearing on some of these guys, a little hernia. I mean, who knew, right? So sometimes it may not be the exact body part that you're on. Man, this video is getting long. I don't want to go too long. I know some of you who are still here, I've made some really great points, and I know you'll enjoy them. So listen, this is what I want to do. I'm wrapping up this video. I haven't even mentioned it, but I have new courses that have come out. Okay? They're called HIT with Mr. America Heart. HIT Training with Mr. America Heart. And I did shoot all of the videos in my home gym with barbells, dumbbells, free weights, squat rack, power rack, reverse hyper, benches, incline benches, calf block. I used all of your favorites here without many machines. I don't have machines. T-bar, rows. I do all of that in my place right here. So I show you how you can do these exercises properly while using high-intensity training techniques. If you want to get those courses right there, I will put the link down below. I'll even run it across the screen. I'll do both for you. Go ahead and hit the link down in the video description. Go and get it. It's at a launch price right now, reduced about 25%. So you get a good discount just for coming through this referral right here where I'm sending you to the site. So go ahead and check out the landing page and get yourself a copy. HIT Training with Mr. America Heart. I will now wind this one up. Listen, off to your left, as I'm wrapping this up, you're going to see a disc pop up. That is the subscribe button for my channel. Please give that thing a tap and let YouTube know you want to be notified when I have new videos pop up. Down below and off to your left, you're going to see the thumbs up button right there. Please give that thing a tap. If you have your device, your handheld device, turn it blue. Okay? Let YouTube know how much you're enjoying the videos, and it will light them up and light me up too. I appreciate it so much. I'll see you in the next video. From my heart to you, John Hart.